Thank you, Gus. It's an honor. Thank you for making me your first speaker and keynote speaker. It's my first time in Panama and my first time to this show, so I've been excited. When I asked Gus what he wanted me to talk about, though, he didn't tell me. I asked him again, and he said, Manny, there's hundreds of beautiful women at the show. They're not going to pay attention to you anyway. But he did ask me to give a brief background on the global off-highway market and maybe a little bit about Alliance Tyre, since we're not a household name. So I'd like to just kind of introduce my company briefly and then talk a little bit about the off-highway market. Our brands might be familiar to some of you. We manufacture and market the Alliance, Galaxy, and Primex brands. Our Alliance brand is mostly our agricultural brand, making high-tech ag tires, forestry, agro-industrial. We have radial flotation, row crop, combine, and the like. Galaxy is primarily our construction, skid steer, underground mining, also farm, probably our most complete brand. And then Primex is more specialized in the off-road, super terra flotation, and forestry tires. Altogether, we have over 260 patents and over 2,600 SKUs. We have a worldwide network made up primarily of 6 different subsidiary companies. We're in Mumbai is our headquarters, Mumbai, India, where we also have a factory. We have a factory in Israel and also a marketing company that distributes tires to the Israeli market. We have a sales office in Europe, in the Netherlands, one in South Africa. And then the company I'm in charge of is the Americas, with our headquarters near Boston, Massachusetts. And we have 3 warehouses, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Texas. And we have a satellite office in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, run by a colleague, Guido Reutmann. We have an aggressive vision. We intend and want to be one of the top 3 global tire makers and market leaders in the agricultural, forestry, and construction market by 2016. And we want to build a strong presence in the niche earth-moving markets, especially port and underground mining. And we want to do that by delivering superior value to users through lowest cost of ownership. And that's a combination of quality, technology, price, and distribution practices. We produce in 2 countries today. We have our original plant is in Israel, in Hadera, in northern Israel. This focuses on high-end agricultural products. It's expensive to produce in Israel, so it makes sense to keep our high-end technology tires there. And recently we opened a plant in India, on the southeast corner of India. Additionally, we outsource to some key partners in China to make up the rest of our product line. We meet all the international standards of quality, European, US, and international. And a lot of our business is done through global OEMs. Some of them should be familiar names to you. Our OE business has more than tripled in the last 2.5 years. And just the major milestones for us is the group was founded in 2007. It started when the Mahansaria family in India partnered with Warburg Pincus, which is one of the largest private equity companies in the world, and they purchased Alliance Israel in 2007. Shortly thereafter, they announced the construction of a new plant in India. And then a year later, we purchased the pneumatic assets of GPX and got the Galaxy and Primex brands, molds, US distribution, etc. And just our sales turnover, we're a small player. We're a small niche player. We went from roughly a little under $200 million in 2007, and we finished last year a little over $500 million. So we have had a 2.5 times turnover since our inception, and our goal is to significantly increase that and hopefully double that in the next 5 years. Our focus is off-highway tires. This is one of the reasons Gus asked me to speak to the off-highway market. 87% of our business is off-highway. This blue is because we distribute Eolus truck tires in the United States. It's the only non-off-highway tire we have. Our relationship with Eolus came when we purchased GPX, and it's been a terrific relationship for us. So why off-highway tires? What I want to do is give you a feel for the off-highway tire market and the size. The global tire business is about $130 billion last year. That's a pretty big number. The off-highway tire segment is relatively small. It's roughly 10%, or it was about, our estimate, about $12 billion in 2011. The breakdown is geographically, about 2/3 of it is done between Europe and North America, with Europe at 34%, North America close to 30%, then the rest of the world making up the difference. And it's also split between aftermarket and OE, the part that everyone in this room participates in. Aftermarket is about 70% of the business, with OE making up close to 30%. What I'm going to talk about primarily is just the four segments, how we define the off-highway market for us. For Alliance is agriculture, forestry, earth mover, construction. And from that, the world tire market we said was $12 billion. Well, agriculture is almost half of that. Again, this is in dollars, and the dollars are inflated from 2010 because of price increases the last 2 years, but you still get a pretty good feel. Each market, though, has a different makeup. North America is fairly evenly split between agriculture, construction. Mining and earth moving is actually a big part of the North American market. In Europe, it's the opposite. In Europe, it's almost 2/3 of the market is agriculture, with a very small mining and construction market relative to North America. And then what we have is the rest of the world, we'll call it. The rest of the world almost is over half the global market in terms of dollars, with ag about 40%, construction 30%, and mining 26%. The rest of the world pretty much is under construction, where infrastructure growth is driving sales. But in the long term, and I'll show you in a minute, long term we think the real growth will be in agriculture in the rest of the world. And Latin America, of that rest of the world, of that $6 billion pie, the Latin American market is a little over 20%. So we have it pegged at about a $1.2 billion market for off-highway products. So it's a rather large and 10% of the global total. This is the exciting part, if I were sitting in this room and I was a dealer, is that the global growth rate for the next several years in the off-highway segment, and this is again is ag, construction, forestry, and earth mover, roughly 3 to 4% a year projected growth. Latin America, Caribbean, projected growth is twice that. It hovers somewhere between 7 and 8%. So growing at a much more rapid pace than the developed markets. The ag market is showing about 3.5% compound annual growth. Commodity prices are gone up, so farmers have more money. When farmers have more money, they buy more machines. When they buy more machines, they tend to buy more tires. Also, there's an urbanization going on in the world, and as more people move to cities, their eating habits change. And as their eating habits change, the type of foods they want changes, and that has an impact on farming, as well as per capita income. As people get more money, they move to cities and make more money, they spend more on agricultural products. Flotation tires minimize soil compaction. And soil compaction, if you talk to any farmer anywhere in the world, they're very concerned about soil compaction. The reason is simple: as farms get bigger, machines get bigger, tires get bigger, they put more pressure on the ground. More pressure on the ground with conventional tires puts a lot more disturbance into the soil. As it compacts the soil, the root system does not grow as well and the crops get impacted. The solution to that is flotation tires, preferably radial flotation tires that cover a wider area. They don't dig into the soil as much. They allow the crops to grow, and the productivity of that crop yield is significant. I should say here is that we do have, Alliance has the most radial flotation tire line in the industry. In radial alone, we produce over 11 different tread designs for different applications, whether a regular duty, heavy duty, or high speed. and that's just radial. We also have them for the bias tires too, flotation. So it's one area, though we're a small company, it's one area that we have staked out a market lead in radial flotation tires. Moving to construction. In construction globally, infrastructure is the fastest growing segment of construction. Residential housing, non-residential building, all show a modest growth of 2.5% to 3.5% a year, but infrastructure itself is showing almost twice that, about 5% a year. So the thing here is, in leading the infrastructure again, is the emerging markets. By 2020, the emerging markets should account for 55% of all global construction. It's about 46% today. And the key drivers, of course, are the recession killed construction, and the recovery is we're starting to see construction activity. I see a lot of construction activity in Panama just coming from the airport. 97.7, almost $100 trillion forecasted to be spent during the next decade on construction. They said it was going to expand almost 5% annually, outpacing global GDP. And like I said here, the emerging markets will account for 55%. And the U.S. construction market is finally starting to make a bit of a recovery. Mining is very specialized. I know a lot of people, very few people handle the large mining, giant mining tires, and Alliance is not in that business. But there's a lot of talk about the shortages. Everyone's aware of the shortages of giant mining tires. And everyone's also aware of the announcements made to increase capacity for giant tires. I think Michelin, Bridgestone, everyone has announced plant expansions. Despite those announcements, demand continues to look like it will outpace any capacity increases. And this red line here represents a global shortage continued into the future on giant mining tires. So it's going to still be very tight supply into the foreseeable future. Economical and make it worthwhile for mines to dig deeper into open new mines. Underground mining is one area that provides some growth because in the United States, especially in other areas where the ecological impact of surface mining is becoming an important issue. A lot of mines are going underground, so underground mining is growing. In Canada has more oil than Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. It's all buried in sand in Alberta, and there's a tremendous amount of mining activity going on in Canada. And the key Latin American countries are in a good position to capitalize on this mining sector. Brazil with iron ore, and Chile, Peru, copper, and Colombia coal are all seeing a boom. Forestry is the smallest sector of the off-highway market. It too is growing slowly, but growing, mainly because as construction grows, wood products tend to grow along with it. And paper, which was hit by the recession, also is growing, so a lot of wood pulp, trees for paper, has picked up as well. In the U.S., the growth of the forestry market has been very large the last year. I want to leave you with one trend here because to us, the off-highway market is everything. That's the only business we're in. In the developed countries, in the G20 countries, construction and agriculture they're in the top 10 industries in the world, mining making number 13. So it's very important industries in the developed countries, but in the developing countries, these are the BRIC countries of Brazil, Russia, India, China, but also indicative of all developing and emerging markets. Agriculture and mining and construction are in the top 8 or 9. And it's the fastest growing. These are 71%, 61%, 66% growth rates between now and the year 2018. If you're not in this business, you ought to be. And if you're in this business, you can expect to make a lot of money. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for having me.